I'm Dr. Crystal Collier, and today we're going to explore the effects of technology on our brain. Don't worry, it looks like a lot, but I don't want to take away your technology. I mean, I love my screens too, but it's good to know how too much technology may affect our brain and what you can do to protect it, especially while you're growing your frontal lobe. Remember the brain's rule: use it or lose it. The brain cells you use a lot make long chains of connected networks for the things that you're doing a lot. These chains start to grow more connections when you engage in a behavior for 3 to 4 hours at a time. This makes sense. If you want to get good at something, you practice at it. If you want to get good at soccer or arguing on a debate club, you practice for 3 or 4 hours at a time, and your brain grows long networks of cells for those things. Or if you spend time gaming or using social media for 3 to 4 hours at a time, then your brain grows networks for those skills instead. What things are you practicing for 3 or 4 hours at a time? Do you ever feel like you're on screens too much? How is that affecting you? Let's take a look at a study that shows how too much screen time can alter brain connections. Scientists measured brain cell networks in 2 groups of adolescents. First, if you connected all the red dots, you'd see the brain connectivity of the teenagers who used recreational technology no more than a couple hours a day. Compare that to the purple lines, which show the brain cell connections of a group of teenagers who dropped out of high school and used tech up to 12 hours a day. Notice this thick area of connections for the tech overusers. This is the part of the brain that moves your hands to wherever your eyes go. And that makes sense because that's the part of the brain they're using the most. So they have the most connections. But look at how many brain cell networks they're developing in their frontal lobe. Not as many when you compare them to the teenagers who didn't use tech as much and engaged in a wider variety of activities. That's scary because our frontal lobe is where our executive functioning skills are growing during those 2 phases of brain development, but only if we use them. In order to do that, first we need to focus and pay attention. Paying attention is a skill that gets better with practice, which means the more you practice, the more brain cell networks you grow for that skill. But we have too much to pay attention to today because of all the digital stimuli flooding our brain. And if you already have attention problems, this may make it harder. In the year 2000, scientists measured how long we could pay attention and found that we could stay focused on one thing for about 12 seconds. When they measured again in 2018, we lost 4 seconds. Apparently, goldfish can pay attention for 9 seconds. Apparently, they beat us. Oh, how long can you pay attention? Is your tech use having a positive or a negative effect on your attention and focus? We need to pay attention in order to memorize things, but the part of the brain that memorizes things, called the hippocampus, it's getting smaller. It's shrinking because we just don't use it as much. Our tech use is also increasing our levels of anxiety because there's always more to do. More games to play, more episodes to watch, more likes to like, more posts to post, more homework. It never ends. Phew! Being constantly connected to our screens leads to something called popcorn brain that happens when our brain cells are always firing because of so much stimuli coming in from our technology. Our brain needs a few hours to calm down from these effects, especially before bedtime. Do you think that technology or social media could actually affect how we feel about ourselves or even our bodies? How we feel about ourselves is being affected by screens because we get the message that, well, we're just not as important as what's on the screen. Some young people want to even look like their selfies, but taking pictures of yourself distorts what your features actually look like. So if you think you should look more like your selfie, you may have something called selfie dysmorphia and think your face is distorted when it's not. Research shows that people who overuse technology experience less happiness, more depression, and loneliness. In Japan, they call it hikikomori syndrome, where over 1 million young people are experiencing tech overuse and never go out or do anything without a screen. So what can we do? Think, use it, or lose it. Our brain needs plenty of in-person time and less screen time. Disconnecting and letting our brain daydream and roam free helps increase our creativity and relaxation. Follow the brain balance rule, which says for every hour of screen time, we engage in an hour of something else to balance out what our brain is using and losing. The something else should include a lot of face-to-face time with live people, listening and paying attention, relaxing, talking to others, moving your body, and practicing mindfulness by slowing down and doing one thing at a time. Finish what you start and then give your brain a much-needed brain break so that it can become your frontal lobe superhero, especially when it's using technology.